Hello, everybody. Buddy or to the verifier that's watching this. My name is Green Lion, and I'm going to be showcasing CrossWorlds Shuttle percent. Now, you might be wondering why this category is named Shuttle percent. This is mainly because while it is technically considered a backwards percent, more known from Mario Kart 8 kind of category extensions where you go backwards throughout the tracks on 200cc. In this game, you can't really go backwards, and I will get to that shortly. But the simple reason is that due to the way the game handles its track system, or rather its CrossWorlds system, the tracks are split into like their own segments. Which meaning, in order for one segment to appear, another segment or like an invisible barrier or trigger has to be activated first, and it is one way. But that's all for this intro, and yeah, we're going to be using Zaz in the CAC booster because it is my favorite combo to use for this game, and because I also don't have the meta, which is minecart. We're going to be doing this run on Sonic Speed. Technically, we could also do it on Super Sonic Speed, but Sonic Speed is the one version that I know for this. And yeah, we'll get started with E Stadium. Time will start when we press the second go in 3, 2, 1, go. So E Stadium is a very simple track. There's nowhere to fall off, and usually nowhere to respawn, but you will see why that is considered a bad thing. But as I mentioned earlier, we can usually go backwards in this game, normally because of the pop-up, but because there's also an invisible barrier back here. This is what separates the usual backwards percent from Shuttle percent, because in order to go backwards in this game and go through that barrier, we need to actually activate the travel ring first. Which is something you wouldn't usually do in an actual race, because this is a stop you never do in the actual game. And so we're going to be making our way through E Stadium, grabbing as many rings as we can, and using the ring engine loadout. And you'll see that we have a slightly different meta now with 130 rings instead of the single ring engine. Yeah. Now, while in the normal category, this is mainly because the meta has changed, where that's no longer needed. In this category, it'll be useful for one reason. Anyways, so back to the actual run. We already triggered the travel ring, so now we can head backwards. And yeah, but you'll probably notice a little bit of a ramp here. Now, normally speaking, we can't go past here, but there'll be a little trick we can do if I can drift correctly. We hold right, and that just teleports us over the ramp. We will be using this trick multiple times throughout the entire run to skip over barriers that we wouldn't be able to get otherwise. As it lets us bypass certain tracks that we wouldn't be able to otherwise. But as I was saying earlier, the main reason why we have 130 rings is because of a certain track later, which requires us to have enough speed to cross the gap in order to finish the lap. But back to the actual track. Now we run into another barrier, which is the jump pad. And then normally that sends us forward, but fortunately we can just ride our way up slowly and do the exact same trick. And as you can see, we're past it, so we can just use the boost across. And yeah, that's E Stadium done. So next we're going to be going over to Water Palace, and you're probably wondering why we aren't going to be doing Rainbow Garden. Well, this is because that is one of the impossible tracks. Right, and the main reason why Rainbow Garden is impossible is because there's a common issue with those tracks where it has a forged plane section. And forged plane sections are bad for this game, for this specific showcase, because you can't go backwards in them. You can only go forward, and you can't turn to head in the opposite direction. So now we're on to Water Palace. And this is the first track in the game, well, in the showcase, where the entire track is possible without even using the respawn that we showcase in the stadium. And we'll get to that reason shortly. But yeah, we're going to make our way across. And now we can turn backwards. It's important to turn hard left or hard right every now and then, as if this goes on, if that turnaround symbol goes on for too long, then this will happen. It will try to set us in the correct direction. So it's important to go hard left and hard right every now and then. We're going to jump over this barrier, go down the stairs. I'm not really good with explaining text, so please be kind with this. Wait, and now we can go around the U-turn. And there will be another thing I will say if this appears. Unfortunately, we didn't get it, but there's another trigger that will count. So if you go too far into a final part of the lap, sometimes the invisible barrier behind the CrossWorlds ring will appear, and you can't go through the starting line like you would do there otherwise. Our next track is Sand Road, and this is mainly because Metal Harbor also being impossible, and not because of the forged plane section, but because since if you played the game before, you know there's a second section or an alternate path where there's a few spots where you just jump over the harbor. Well, that track has a problem because when you try to respawn back to those platforms, the game won't allow you to. And it's weird because it feels like it should be possible, but the game just doesn't allow you to. Oh, I went the wrong way. Well, I guess we're driving through the mud. Wait, I'll try to showcase this here. And also try to... The hard part about going through these portions backwards is it's trying to multitask. Oh, whoa, whoa. That's not meant to happen. But the hard part about navigating these portions backwards is that you have to multitask a lot of... Well, you have to juggle a lot of things. You have to focus on not getting sent back from the U-turn sign. You have to also navigate through the courts like you would normally. and you have to make sure. And you have to make sure that you're using the boost in the correct locations. But if I did this correct, we should be hitting a barrier here. Yeah, and for reference, that will count towards the track being completed because you did the track backwards. So up next we have Colorful Mall. Well, and you might think that this track has a slight issue because of an upcoming section that we're going to run to. So yeah, we're going to be doing the usual navigate, cruising around normally. So another thing about Ring Engine that I will briefly mention for those that don't know about the previous patch, is that what Ring Engine does is that it'll turn your, well, any form of vehicle of your choice into essentially into a max out stat. We're going to activate the control ring. Now we can go backwards. Wait, Ring Engine will max out multiple stats by buffing. Now, depending on how many rings you have in total. It doesn't go past 100 rings, oh yeah. So now we're in a bit of a pickle. We can't really go backwards here, but for whatever reason, if we are able to get the U-turn to teleport us, then this will happen. It'll just send us over to the ramp anyways. And it's weird how that works. Because if you fall off the map and go out of bounds, it will teleport you in the right place. But for whatever reason, if it doesn't do that, then it'll send you backwards. This is probably why some respawns feel a bit silly at times. Because you can just be playing correctly and then the game will just send you back for no reason. But yeah, Hyper Ring Engine will boost your stats. That's no matter what character or car combo you're playing as. Yeah, and it's really good, since it kind of acts like a mini, quick recovery if you're playing online. So yeah, now we're on to our first hard track of the run, which is Mystic Jungle. And it's going to be hard for a few reasons. So remember how I said earlier that Metal Harbor had a bad respawn? Well, this track has kind of a similar reason to that. But unfortunately, this track is completable backwards, and you will see in a bit. So yeah, we're going to be going down the water slide. Either route doesn't matter, just as long as you reach the destination, then it's fine. And unfortunately, since this is a short map, we can just go over here, U-turn here, and now we can start driving with reverse. So the first issue we have is this ramp. And now normally, okay, bad example, but normally when you go on that ramp, you'll just get placed in the correct direction. But this one, on the other hand, oh, we got both of them first try. Right, that's actually wild. Of course, this will happen in the showcase, but normally this is meant to happen, where you just get sent forward, and there's nothing you can do about it. But as you saw, from my unintended, you can just spawn up here. So now we're going to be holding back for a couple seconds. And this is mainly because if we allow ourselves to go forward, we will hit the boost pads again. And then we need to cover enough distance in order to actually turn around. So yeah, now we're in the water slide again, and this time it's a bit jank since it's a bit confusing to navigate. Okay, and it's very easy to fall off. But now we can go this ramp, and now we're across. So yeah, that was the only hard part about the map. Yeah, and there are two more that I would say are pretty difficult. So I'm surprised I got that like fairly easily. Because usually I struggle with that cut. So yeah, up next is Wonder Museum. And of course, the reason why we don't play Apotos is because that map has two force plane sections, and neither of them you can abuse respawns to teleport you onto the other side. I really wish there was a way to circumvent that, but yeah, unfortunately there isn't a way. And I guess while we're on the way of like circumventing like air tricks or like airplane, I guess I could mention the CrossWorlds. Technically 4 of them are possible. Well, with the 5th one being extremely hard but doable. The main reason why we're not counting those is because of the way CrossWorlds work, where they aren't a traditional track where you can just go backwards and they're usually one way, and most of those maps feature planes. Now the 4 tracks that are possible backwards, they're a bit scuffed, but they're funny. But once again, the main reason why we're not doing those is because... Hold up. Oh, I did it wrong. Well, that was my bad. But yeah, the main reason why we're not doing those in the run is because they're not traditional tracks. Even though they're technically doable, there's nothing really you're missing out on. So now we're going to force our way up again. And I went the wrong direction. Okay, so here is another trick that we're going to do. And we're going to manipulate the U-turn thing by just pressing the accel button a couple times. Because otherwise, if you try to do the corner trick, then you'll just get sent back to where we were from like a few seconds ago. So we have to use the accel to navigate ourselves up here, and then we have to angle ourselves correctly so we don't hit the boost pad, and then we're good. So this was like one of the harder maps initially, when I first tried this. But overall, it's kind of... The more I play it, the more it becomes easier to get through. And now we're going to do the same thing that we did in Colorful Mall, and now we're over the thing. Now we can go down the spiral, and we should be free from this. I do like... One thing that is like very uncommon about the game is like abusing the bugs in it. Because typically when you encounter a glitch in CrossWorlds, it is the most infuriating nonsense to ever come out of this game. Like sometimes you just pop up into the air and and it just feels like, and you'll just lose a lot of speed and it feels like absolute nonsense. Oh yeah. I was going to go into Ocean View to view something, but we're going to skip that track for a different reason. It is technically possible by all means, but the reason why we can't put it on the thing is because there is a really bad respawn where if you try to do the Estelle trick of like a tall slope, the game will get confused and put you on the wall for some reason, and of course that will send you downwards. So as far as we're aware, that track is impossible unless a new trick gets discovered. So now we're in Pumpkin Mansion. This is probably one of the harder tracks, but it is such a satisfying glitch to do. It is one of the longer tracks too, so it's a bit infuriating when something doesn't go right. Oh, I accidentally snapped it. Cool. So now we can go backwards here. But another thing that's like very infuriating is that there's a lot of off-road in Pumpkin Mansion, and there's a lot of turns, meaning that the U-turn sign will have a lot of fun being here when they normally would disappear with any other map. Like, we're gonna jump over the ramp there. So try to navigate without triggering the U-turn thing. And I think we should be about fine. Okay, we're good. So now we're in the funny part. So we need to slowly tap the SL button in order to trigger the U-turn. And now we're just suddenly up here. It is probably one of the most mind-boggling glitches in the game. And we have no idea why this happens. But I am so glad that I did this, because otherwise Pumpkin Mansion would easily be like one of the easiest no's in the entire game. And sometimes you can pull shenanigans like that where it feels like you're traveling through the ring backwards. I think if I do this correctly, we should be PvPing here, even with that one mishap. Hey! So typically speaking, you do, for most of the backwards tracks, you do want to be your personal best time you would for relapse, and that would be considered good for this category. So now onto a recently doable map. In fact, this was discovered yesterday at the time of recording this. This Urban Canyon is probably one of the hardest maps in this entire thing. Mainly because of two reasons. And we'll get there in a second. So yeah, we're going to be doing the usual, going through, getting the CrossWorlds ring, and then marching back. But I will explain the reason why this is. So Green Line, you said earlier that the plane sections are impossible, right? So why are we doing this map? Well, if you notice down below, there is an alternate route. Normally, this alternate route is completely useless in normal play. In fact, it's like much slower if you're doing online or Grand Prix. And it features no items. But for the sake of this challenge, that bottom route is going to be useful. Cool. And it's probably the only time where that's going to be useful. Well, because there isn't any other purpose for that bottom route existing except for boost panels. Oh, that was a weird glitch. So we're going to be going down here. Here, keeping our boost while also keeping momentum. I went the wrong direction. So we have to travel down here now. So basically, if we do this and we start drifting, we can just teleport all the way past the plane barrier, and it's actually so fun. And now the part that was recently discovered that made this track possible. So I'm going to showcase really quick why this track was nearly doable like many months ago, but it was found to be possible now. So originally, we had to go down there. Oh, I accidentally didn't know why that was correct. Okay, so originally when you go down in the out of bounds section, it'll just teleport you back up, and there was no way around this. Now, so community members, being the stubborn people we are thought that scratch this off as being impossible. But if you self-manipulate the U-turn, you just spawn up here for some reason, and it makes this track possible. And I was very pumped when I discovered that yesterday. Oh, wrong track. So now we're going to be going on to Market Street. It isn't. There isn't really anything new to say for Market Street. We just use the same mechanics that we use for East Stadium and Wonder Museum. But yeah, it's a fun. So yeah, we're going to be talking about Urban Canyon more in the meantime. So yeah, we were a bit stubborn and thought the out of bounds meant that was the end of that track. And when I mean we, I mean me and another individual named MM, who has also did this challenge. But we just didn't know at the time that the acceleration would just teleport us back. Like, we thought since there was no corners to use it on, that it was over and that was that. But no, this actually makes Urban Canyon more than doable, well, as demonstrated there, and also another track upcoming that we also thought was impossible. Well, it begins with a C, and it's a blue creature. So we're going to be respawning the map up here. Get the boost panel for immediate speed. Man, this is also why I'm not really doing this on super sonic speed, mainly because it doesn't matter too much since we're using Ring Engine. And that's Market Street. So yeah, up next we have Coral Town, and fun fact, this was the first track that we discovered where respawn manip happened. Because, and this was at a time where I was using Shadow on the stream gear. But basically, I was very desperate and mad that this track, even though it's essentially Yoshi Valley, isn't possible to do backwards for some reason. Anyways, we're gonna hit the skip for the fans. Bang! I missed the boost, so unfortunately we're going to have to take the long way around. But yeah, I was playing as Shadow on Extreme Gear, and I didn't even know that respawn never even existed. Because I was just trying to go backwards as far as I could. And then I hit the wall, and then got mad. But then I discovered that the respawn minute was a thing, and it opened my eyes up to so many maps in the game that were possible. And yeah, that's all I really have to say about cooldown. For now, we just take the path on the right, and go left. Yep, and that's all there is to really talk about for this. And yeah. So now we're on to the Cow Grand Prix. Formerly known as Crystal Grand Prix. We have no idea why it was named that, but hey, they corrected it. I think the main reason was because originally Crystal Mines was going to be part of this cup, but then they took it out and put it in Coral. So now this is properly named Cow Grand Prix with the cow icon. So I will mention that originally there was an Easter egg here for come race at our level. Although it's a cool little neat Easter egg. I like the marketing wasn't for downplaying Mario fans, but eh. So yeah, now we're in Blizzard Valley. Blizzard Valley is a pretty simple track. All you really do is do the same as Sand Road, where you just play the track normally. There isn't even really a respawn manip. And I missed the trigger. Okay, there we go. That took way too long to activate. Wait, I didn't even know that there is a ramp up here backwards. Whereas we have no idea why they did this, but what makes the track doable. Yeah, unfortunately I didn't hit the thing correctly. So we're just gonna keep on moving. I assume in the actual process of doing this run there will be some questions asked. Yeah, some things that I could answer in the meantime. And because I'm running out of things to say, since most of these skills will be used the same. Well, most of these tricks will be used the same way. But yeah. Now we're on to Radical Highway. Probably the hardest map that we will do for this challenge. Mainly because there is a really precise trick, and I will showcase this through my Switch album real quick. Okay, but what we're going to be trying to do here is angle a clip like this to reach the other side. And it's one of the most precise tricks in the entire game. I do wish they use the springs more in this game. They only really use it in well, here, and mainly in TSR, where there weren't planes or boats. So yeah, we're going to be trying to hit that trick when we're doing the showcase. And it is the most difficult, well, it's the second most difficult trick in the entire thing. Technically, there is a strat in Dinosaur Jungle that makes that track possible. But once again, we're not counting CrossWorlds for this. And yeah, so now we start to go backwards, take the ring path to maintain our rings. So now we do this. Might take me a few tries. And by the way, we can't do the acceleration trick here, because if we actually do the acceleration trick, there is a chance that we get spawned further back. Meaning we have to build our speed up again for this. I think I'm going too far to the left, so I think that's it. Yes! Okay. So now that's the hard part done. Now we just go over here, that'll send us back on the ramp. And huge shout out to MM for finding that, because that opened my eyes up to doing this challenge again. And just this in general. And now we just jump over like that. That's probably one of the cooler parts about this as well. Like, you can just have enough speed to make it past the boost, well, the spring, and that's it. That's Radical Highway. Do give like a minute plus estimate for that, because I can be stuck there for some time since the trick is so precise. Because not only does it need the right angle, it also needs speed, which is the main reason why we are using 100 rings. Because if we didn't use 130 rings in that section would be very hard to perform. Anyways, we're on to Cow Park now. This is the second track that was impossible until yesterday. And you'd think it would be pretty easy because well, this is a pretty easy layout, and there's nothing really stopping you. But you will see in a second why for a good while this track was thought of being possible, even though it has a very simple layout, and it has to do with this ending boost, with this ending ramp. So we're going to go over here, activate the travel ring, and we start to go backwards. So earlier when we did the Urban Canyon trick, we had to do a respawn map. And Cow Park has a very similar thing where if we try to go out of bounds there, we get teleported back up. So we need to do another acceleration trick, and we just get sent onto the other side. Now, since this is a recently discovered trick, I have zero idea why the game places you there. But my idea, but if I had to guess, it's before the intended spawn where you wouldn't be usually placed. But you're technically not out of bounds, so the game gets confused to where to place you. And now we can just go up here, and fortunately, unlike the first ramp, we can just kind of go out of bounds, and they'll just send us up here. Oh yeah, fun fact, did you know there's the Forces avatars on the carts? I think they're pretty interesting creatures. If you played against me in Rumble, you know my favorite character is Dog Avatar 1. And yeah, that's Chow Grand Prix. So now we're on to Egg Grand Prix. Where there's 2 tracks available. 2 tracks that are doable. Donpha Factory and Aqua Force. Donpha Factory is one of the first tracks that I thought of when I first did this challenge. And when I did do this, I was correct. And this is the 4th track in the game that's been doable in normal, by just going in reverse normally. So as always, there isn't really that much to talk about when it comes to this track. You go the Eagle route. I have my windows open, by the way. And I pivoted too early, so we have to go backwards here. Fortunately, the car cycles are pretty similar to one another. I just don't have as many rings as it would be otherwise. So yeah, now we can go back. There isn't really an objective for this run. It's kind of a thing that I wondered if it was possible. And over the months that I've played this game, just seeing that the number of tracks can grow bigger and bigger by the amount of strategies I can use for this run is just amazing. Like, there was a point in time where only 5 of these tracks were possible. Well, which is crazy. And now 18 of the 24 main tracks are doable. Well, which is actually nuts. So now we can just come here. Fortunately, they get respawn, so we can go reverse here. Now we can just do this. I think I went too far in. Nope, never mind. Alright. And that's Donpha Factory. So now we're on the 3rd hardest map, which is Aqua Force. I didn't mention this earlier, but the Irvine Canyon airplane skip is not as easy as that I made it out to be. But you need to have enough speed to make that, and you need to have tricks to push you to the left, and it is not as easy as it looks. It took me a couple of tries when I first did this challenge. So now we're on to Aqua Force with the twisting and turning water slides. This is probably one of my favorite tracks in the game casually, and I don't get why a lot of people hate it. And of course, it reminds me of Wildwood from Mario Kart 8. And that's probably like the main reason why. That's like a similar position to it. I'd say like a couple tracks away from before the final cut. And now we respawn ourselves back up here. Fortunately, since we're in the water, our turning is way easier to handle compared to the normal car. Alright, as we make our way up to the water slide. And I'm on the map. We can even just like drift up here. Here is actually nuts. Wait, now we just need to do another jump, and we're up. And then we need to do another respawn minute. The wrong angle. So that's not going to work, so we're going to do a cell trick here. I don't have actual proper names for the strat, or at least at the time of recording. I might come up with some ideas before I do the actual run. Accidentally got the U-turn there, so this is gonna be slightly awkward to do, but we should be fine. Okay. This respawn is very precise to do. Since you need to have enough distance to cover to go there without getting sent backwards. Case in point. I remember this track being like one of the harder ones to do when I first did this challenge. And it was actually, and I had a similar experience completing the track like I did with Urban Canyon earlier when I completed it. So yeah, now we're on to the secret tracks. Unfortunately, all three of these tracks are doable, and they are a perfect showcase of each type of track that we've seen throughout the run. So first we have Crone's Island. This is also another favorite of mine in this game. I think it's a really good track. And sure, the ending section can be rough. But otherwise, this is a really good design. And probably my favorite. I know I specified that like multiple times, but it's just that good. And on top of that, you have the music being the Starfall Island theme. I think it's good. I don't really personally care for I'm Here, to be honest. It's probably the weakest in the third theme. Oh yeah. For the showcase, let's feature something crazy. Really, so even though I triggered the barrier there, I'm there to go backwards. There, it does reset the purple road, but if you travel up here, the game still allows you to drive there. It is very difficult to navigate. It is very difficult to navigate, but the game does allow you to do this, and you can make some wonderful screenshots if you like. It's good for this, since you can just follow the rings. I mean, it's a pretty funny glitch that happens. And probably like one of the only visual bugs in this game. So now we make it down this ramp. We go on to the left side, spawn over here. And now we can go here. Use a respawn map on the left side. Whoa. I did it wrong. Or was it the right side? I always get confused on this one. Because both of them are pretty hard to do. Oh, never mind. That is the first time I've ever clipped out of the game. That's interesting. Of course, it has to happen on a showcase like this, or a demonstration run, rather. Wait, that wasn't meant to happen. Well, the more you know. So now we do one more respawn bug all the way up here, and that's run this done. Yeah, the one downside of doing the invisible road bug is that the barrier appears here, but otherwise that's pretty simple. So now we have North Star Islands, the respawn minute, the full respawn minute map. Now technically this is the last like major map, the major track of this game. Mainly because white space is the easiest and the last track that's doable like backwards normally. So yeah, this is what I like to refer to as like the last like finale map. Or the last map that's like kind of relevant. Because even though white space is the last track that's possible, there's no tricks added, and also funny. So yeah. So yeah, now we do the ramp tricks like we usually do. Using the assault bug. Somebody's taking my nose. Hold up. I have my window open, so there might be like a bug or two bugging me. Like in real life. So now we do respawn here. Here, that's one ramp. And now we go up the spiral. And now we have the other one. And those are pretty... I remember struggling on those the first time I did this. Like, they were not easy for me to, like just put up in my mind. There. That's North Star Island. And, yeah. Now we have one more track. Time will stop when I cross the line on white space. And yeah, if I were to give shoutouts here, I would say thank you to the CrossWorlds community for putting up with me doing this sort of nonsense in the Discord. Also shoutouts to MM. If you're watching this video, I'll put his video now. I don't know they're younger, so I'll put their video down in the description below. Well, their video motivated me to do this challenge again, and I think it's pretty good. And I think it's pretty cool. I think everybody should at least try this out if they have the game. And there's some funny bugs you can do, and it's probably the easiest way to break CrossWorlds without being infuriated. Because sometimes you just need to have stuff like this where it's just easy, where it's just simple, easy to manipulate, and just like a good demonstration of just the game. Now this is not. Now, I won't comment anything about this game's polish and whatnot, because frankly, this is just playing the game as unintended as possible. Like, the game tries really hard to put you in the right direction, but it's just not that easy. Like, if I can do it, most people can. And it's pretty fun to just break things. Things that don't take a lot of effort. And that's time. And yeah. I think it's pretty fun. I think it'd be a good showcase of the game as it's probably a way of playing the game that nobody has really seen before. And I think it's cool that the game just doesn't completely break when you do this. I guess I'll go touch the barrier again for the fans, and just to prove that I'm not making things up. Like, I have no idea why that's there, but it does. And yeah, that's going to be the showcase. Technically speaking, I could add Roulette Road, Golden Temple, Dragon Road, and Alaska, but once again, they're not traditional tracks. Yes, maybe if we're slightly behind schedule, then I can showcase at least Dragon Road, because the strategies you can do on that map are pretty cool. And technically, Dinosaur Jungle is possible, but it's a really hard track to do. So yeah, that's all for me. I will be uploading this onto my second channel, and yeah, bye YouTube.